one of the countless billions of galaxies in the universe lies a medium-sized star, and one of its satellites, a green and insignificant planet, is now dead.
Hey everybody, welcome to another wonderful episode of Verse the World with Matt and Danny. We used to have this down.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You're supposed to say I'm Matt.
I didn't know if you wanted to start over.
Nope.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Danny. This week on the episode, we're going to do something kind of fun. We're going to interview Eric West, the guy
first
who does...
time on camera.
Ever. That's not true.
He was in a pro Oh, no, he wasn't on camera on that.
Well, and we have
Everyone knows about it.
that video,
We didn't have
Dragon
camera.
Claw, where I
you
tied Eric
that
to a
was
chair and
great.
punched him in the face.
No, I remember that perfectly because you said you just looked at me and you were like, look the ball in the eye, and you just punched me right in the face.
Yeah. We have a
I
Eric.
think we still have the clip.
Yeah.
Keep your eye on the ball.
No, it's loud too. It's like really loud. Like
It's just kind of lolls to the side. And you
Yeah.
just kind of go, ow.
Yeah. So
And
what
were you, like 13? Like younger than that, maybe.
should probably
I was way younger
explain.
than that. I was like I was in like 5th grade, so
pretty young.
I was pretty young.
It's like 9 or 10.
Oh, man.
I think.
11 or so.
Yeah, probably like that. Yeah, Eric's been off and on in our projects for years. But that was just to give a setting to the situations. We were in a church basement with no lighting, no good lighting. Eric
All these,
was
like
tied.
ancient chemicals that like probably the fumes were dangerous. Down
Yeah,
there.
it was like established in 1888 or something. And Eric is tied to a chair.
Like comically like a classic orange school chair. And we've actually tied him up with rope. We didn't just fake the shots. We tied him to the chair where he couldn't move his hands.
And the idea was you were interrogating him or something.
Yeah, and we were
So
beating
we
him
had
up.
to do a fake shot where you punch and Eric moves at the right time, and then we put a sound effect.
And we
later.
practiced it like 2-3 times.
Yeah.
And then one time, like I was like, "All right, you ready? Keep your eye on the ball." And then and
and it made
I
it
swacked
loud like a real meaty hit.
we were gonna save that audio clip just so we could use it in the future anytime someone got hit in a video
Yeah,
because
'cause
it's
it was
such a good sound
yeah.
effect.
Ow!
Ow! Oh shit! And then it was like one of those like, "Oh no, don't tell mom I hit you, hit me back" kind of moments because we got in a lot of trouble at that school for very minor things, and like I hit him hard enough, I was worried he was gonna have a black eye.
Did you?
No, I do remember though throughout the rest of that day though you kept looking back at me and trying to make sure that I didn't have a black eye.
Well, and I think at one point you came up to me and were like, "Are you all right, dude?" And you were like, my eye's sore, like it hurts." Yeah, so Eric West, we're gonna interview him this episode. He's the audio engineer we talk about every episode. He's really done a lot to help us improve the show and make it the halfway decent show that it is. So we thought it'd be fun to talk to him, get to know him.
It's always an interesting conversation with Eric. Usually we shut the cameras off and we end up talking about some metaphysical or philosophical thing, and we're like, "God damn, what was with the guest we just had? We should have Eric
Just
on
have
for this."
Eric on, man.
every
Just mic him up. So, yeah, I've kind of forgot about what to do in the intro and everything right now, but we're going to interview you here in a minute.
All right.
First, is there anything you wanted to talk about? I know I just asked you a minute ago, but I literally forgot.
No.
Okay. I just woke up, and then we did this podcast. Briefly, I wanted to talk about... So a few years ago, there was an event called the Adpocalypse on YouTube, and it damaged a lot of YouTubers. I don't really... At that point, I wasn't on YouTube that much, so I don't know what initially triggered it in that situation.
PewDiePie.
Was it PewDiePie? Was it the N-word thing?
It was the N-word mixed with the hit piece from Wall Street Journal that did the whole, like, oh, he's a Nazi, look at all these video compilations where he's saluting Hitler and stuff. Even though it's
Right.
parody. So it wasn't necessarily the N-word thing. It was just they used that as a bouncing board to, like, make this, oh, PewDiePie. And he's getting monetized, so you're monetizing racism, kind of.
Right, and then
Oh,
that
well,
started this...
There's one other part of that PewDiePie was a big part of it, but there was the main thing was because after the PewDiePie thing, people were finding videos where it'd be like, an ISIS recruitment video or something, and it would have like a Pepsi ad on it. So that was another thing.
Yeah, and that just started a whole knee-jerk reaction where it was like, well, we don't want our ads on this, which I get, but it turned into this whole like, well, how can we trust YouTube to be putting ads on advertiser-friendly videos? So then they got really strict about what kind of content you as a creator can upload on YouTube and it still be monetized. And it's kind of slowly spiraled more and more into their political ideas get lumped into what's advertiser friendly instead of it just being like, is this dangerous content? Is this a person being murdered that somehow made it online? Like that content shouldn't be available. But anyways, like a new adpocalypse basically just started. It could be a little bit of we're kind of before it's really happened, so it's hard to say how much of an impact it's going to have, but it has a lot of creators worried because the last time it didn't just affect channels that actually were breaking policy, it basically negatively affected almost everyone. Like a lot of people lost the ability to monetize their channels for no reason, and YouTube is not a very user-friendly service. They're not very accessible. Like it's hard to get in touch with any actual person if you have an issue with YouTube, like if you can't get into your account or something. And so a lot of people lost a lot of money in that whole situation. And basically a whole nother thing just started up. My basic understanding of it is Steven Crowder, someone I'm not particularly a fan of, but I don't really have a problem with, I guess kept making fun of one specific Vox reporter who is gay, and I don't remember what his ethnicity was, but that's what Crowder pointed out once or twice. But the gentleman points that out about himself. And it wasn't, from my understanding, Steven Crowder didn't like throw like insults. He was just like, oh yeah, this gay something reporter keeps doing these videos on me. And that was pretty much the insult. But they compiled any time he's ever mentioned him. And then he's like, I can't believe YouTube would allow like this kind of abuse on their service. And he's basically just kicked up a lot of dust about nothing. And then Vox got behind him and was basically pressuring YouTube, like, get Steven Crowder, like, take him off your channel, like, demonetize him. But like there was no smoking gun anywhere of like, see, this is the thing he did that was wrong. And even YouTube was like, we don't approve of his conduct, but he's not really breaking any of our terms of service. But they were feeling a lot of heat, so they finally were like, yeah, we're going to take away his monetization, and here's a whole bunch of policies we're going to instill in like a month. Enjoy, everyone. And people started reading it, and it was just like, okay, if you've posted too much content that's already been demonetized, we'll just take monetization away from your whole channel. Even if YouTube demonetizes by algorithm, so all kinds of videos get demonetized where there's no problem at all. Someone even experimented with it where they were uploading like 5-second blank black videos that are just titled like hi, and they get demonetized because the algorithm, it's just not efficient. So it basically has stacked all the cards against the people who use YouTube and make their income from that. And it's just kind of frustrating because the whole thing is basically it's occurring because all these social media services are getting really nervous about the 2020 election because they suffered a lot of blame for Trump's election in 2016 because he was able to get a lot of support through all these different social media sites. And I just think it's just really annoying that all this stuff keeps happening because of politics. Because I'm one of those person who's like, I get into politics sometimes, like really into it, and then I'm like, I just want to break. But now politics, we're just in an era where politics is infecting everything. Yeah. Like you just can't get away from it.
Which is kind of disappointing because it used to be the internet was sort of the Wild West. And it just really felt very free. And you weren't bombarded by there's no forced type of content or type of behavior. It wasn't like YouTube. It's like you got to fit into this box. It's like slowly over time you kind of have to in order to, the trending page is pretty atrocious right now.
Have you seen
only
like
promote-
the videos where they break down how many channels have been like trending, how many videos they've had and all that? And it's like there's just a clear bias in the US YouTube where they just select what videos they want to put on.
Yeah, for sure. It's really weird, the stuff that they promote. But yeah, I agree. It's really disappointing. I mean, all over the place. I had to recently. I kind of stopped using Facebook recently, and I don't really use Twitter or anything, and then I don't use Instagram too much either. But so then I was like, oh, I'll just use Reddit, because Reddit's pretty nice. You can kind of selectively, pick what you're following and all that, and there's not really like any kind of algorithm like Facebook where you see stupid shit. I had to stop using Reddit now because the pages that you wouldn't think could be political. So there's one called Insane People Facebook, and it used to be one of my favorites. It would be like just funny stuff, like someone like as if they were a homeless person or something posting on Facebook, like, hey, I'm selling my baby for this much, whatever. Stuff like that. It was funny. And now it'll literally just be like Trump. I mean, I'm kind of exaggerating, but it's not far off. It'll be something like Trump 2020 on Facebook, and then someone posted on Insane People Facebook on Reddit, and it gets so much likes. Like just being a conservative or is considered Insane People Facebook, I guess. And it's not like they've changed their terms on the subreddit to like, hey, no politics, like, because you could do the same thing on the other side, like, you could portray, liberal people in some insane way, and there's a lot of crazy liberals and a lot of crazy right wingers, but when it's just like always right wing stuff all the time, like there's such a big political bias, which I'd be just as annoyed if it was the other way around too. But it's like, anyway, my point being that was like a lot of subreddit pages like that start getting infected with politics. Like you really on social media now, especially since they're at the center of this debate and argument about the way they influence. It's like, man, you almost have to just detox completely from all social media if you want to avoid politics. Disappointing. Depressing note. Huh?
It really is.
Yeah.
Like every time we talk about this, like it just like it doesn't depress me and then I carry it, but every time we talk about it, it's like, man, this just sucks. Like I just want to break from it, but still be able to enjoy some things online.
Yeah. I remember when this stuff started, probably around like 2013, 14, where it really started seeming to get bad. It was like, and South Park did the whole bit where they have the two rednecks, and it's like, everyone's being PC again. It will be another 5 years, and they'll stop. And I was kind of like, and then it's like, it just does seem like now it's like, it keeps going. Like, it has not bounced back yet.
Fucking stop.
Like,
when are we
need
going to get a break?
Back. Yeah.
When are we get a everything is stupid and make fun of everything break?
I think that I'm trying to stay optimistic that is coming.
Yeah.
With the next generation.
I have faith in Gen Z that I shouldn't have, just because they don't give any shits right now. Okay, I think the rest of the stuff I'll talk about at the end. Let's just jump right in with Eric. Eric, what up, dude?
Nothing much, really.
Give the people like a little brief background who you are and what you're doing right now.
I'm Eric West. I guess I'm the man behind the mic, as they were saying earlier.
Which is a kind of a stupid one the more I think about it, because you're the one person who doesn't have a mic. But anyway.
Yeah. But no, I guess I would say that I'm a musician, and I have a solo project that I do albums for. And also, I guess really I'm just an audio engineer just trying to do some of these podcasts and stuff. Really, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So you're Matt's younger brother. You guys grew up together, and then you guys both started going to the same school as me when I was about 13. Matt, you were about 13, right? And then how old were you when you started there?
I guess that would make him, you're 6 years younger than me. So
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, so you would have been like
9?
7.
7? Whoa. Okay.
You sure?
Well, you're 6 years younger than me, right? And I was in 8th grade, 7th grade or something. 8th grade was the first year I went.
Yeah.
Okay, then I left for a year, and then we came back. Well, maybe he wasn't there.
He wasn't there till you came back.
Oh, that's what it was.
Later because I didn't show up until after
when we came back. Okay.
The big comeback.
I came to the school, Beth, when it was our sister Beth's last year.
Okay.
There.
Okay. And so basically, we've known each other like since then.
Mm-hmm.
grown up.
Yeah, I
worked
always
on a
think
couple
we've
different
known each other
projects,
10
yeah.
years. I forget the fact that Eric and you have known each other for 10
Yeah.
years too.
Yeah, which
So
is
that's
like it's
weird.
really weird because like, I mean, we've changed a lot since we were like 13. Do we need to bump the mouse or something?
Probably.
I didn't think about the screensaver going, huh? What have you done?
Okay,
We're there. We're live. We're live.
Everything's fine. All right.
that out.
Hopefully, that's not just a huge shot of my ass.
I could get it out.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, like, I mean, me and Matt have changed like a lot since we were 13, but at the same time, like, once you start hitting around like your teenage years, you don't like your perception of yourself kind of stays the same. So it hasn't seemed like that long. But like when I met you, you were this little kid who to me looked exactly like Gohan from his first
You
appearance in
always
Dragon
said
Ball Z.
that, but I don't agree with it at
You
all.
were just kind of there's
there's something about it,
like
yeah.
a short, squat kid, and you were just a little chubby.
Not him in the Forest first episode, but him training with Piccolo with the white scarf thing. And
Yeah.
the bowl cut.
Yeah,
That's what
if
it was.
we
You
put
had a
it-
similar haircut at one point.
Yeah,
It was almost like a
Yeah.
bowl cut. Yeah.
yeah. I wanted to make a Dragon Ball live action series. And I was like, I got to do this right now. Like, Eric's the only person who can pull this off. And the minute he grows out of it, and he grew out of it. But it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like you've changed a lot. Now you're like, you're kind of a peer and a contemporary. Like, you're a really intelligent person, like, into a lot of interesting things. We can have long conversations and stuff. It's like when I met you, you were just this goofy little kid that I
Yeah.
punched in the face.
I do think it is interesting because when I actually do think about it, it is kind of weird that I kind of grew up hanging out with you guys, and I think from your perspective, it is probably weird to sort of see me become like an adult now.
Yeah. I forget what's weird is for me is the last couple years I always think of you as an adult as opposed to not, because I guess because we lived together for a little bit and stuff, but like you also are just way more mature than like either of us were at your age. Like at any given point of what age you are, you're like a few years ahead, it seems like, than maybe where we were at. I remember the moment exactly was when we were talking about girlfriends in the basement.
I was telling him about this
Yeah, he
last
was
week
talking
when
about-
we
Yeah.
were going to Taco Bell.
Yeah, I bring it up a lot, but Eric, we were talking about girlfriends and girl troubles, and Eric was there because he would just hang out with us in the basement, and he must have been 13, 12, something.
No, he had just started high school, I think, because I think that's why I asked him.
okay.
so he must have been like
He was-
I don't.
14.
I
He was pretty
honestly,
young.
I have no memory of this.
Well,
Yeah, so
I want to
could-
say
don't
I want
know.
to say he was 12, but maybe he was 14. But it was basically we're like Caleb's like, so what about you, man? You got a girl in the works? What's going on? Or something like that. And he just says he's like, well, I'm only this many years old. Like it wouldn't make any sense for me to date right now. I mean, it's not like I can have like a real like he just says all this really intelligent, wise things to say. He's like, so yeah, I probably won't date until I'm a little older when maybe I'm emotionally there or something.
Yeah, and he just like said it very not like no hint of pretension, just like he thought it out and
Yeah.
and made a decision, and he was just telling you like matter of factly, and I was sitting there like, shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when did you first start getting into music, Eric?
Trying to think. Quite a while ago. I must have been like 13 or 12 when I started to play guitar. I really tried to start playing guitar, and then I think
I think I went to college the first year and I came back and you were like way better at guitar than me, which isn't necessarily saying much, but I remember that.
yeah. Well, I think I would say that I definitely learned it. I think I definitely had a knack for it or some sort of talent because I picked it up pretty quick and then was able to get pretty good at it. But I wanted to learn guitar. I think the first time I picked up a guitar, I literally just tried to write a song.
Really?
Yeah, the first time. It was real shitty. Yeah, but I tried to write a song. And I think from then, I just slowly tried to learn all that I could about different instruments and guitar mostly, just to see if I could write music.
Oh, 'cause you
and the
drummed
same thing
first.
with, I played drums in middle school, like for middle school marching band. But
Oh, really?
yeah, but it was, I don't know. It was,
Percussion.
yeah, it was just normal middle school percussion stuff. It was like,
You
wasn't
just like
anything
wait
into
10 seconds. You like that, the cymbals or whatever.
But Yeah, but I think as far as music went, I just sort of, it's been definitely a long process of just trying to learn like drums, keyboard, and guitar, and just trying to learn how to mix it all myself too, and just see how far I could really take that. But
Yeah, there seems to be like, from my perspective, just listening to you as you've explored all these different things, it seemed like there was a shift at some point from like kind of more the idea of like I'm gonna be a musician to like I want to craft the music. Like, what do I need to learn in order to do the whole song myself?
Very
Like
DIY mindset.
Yeah,
from
you
the
haven't been
beginning.
much of a like I want to go out and join a band, at least in our conversations.
yeah, well, I think mostly that is just because my taste in music is so, and I don't want to sound pretentious, but it's just bizarre, like just so off from what everyone else is into or wants to write or anything. So it's hard to find people that actually want to make the same type of music I want, and it's also hard to explain that or sort of get like articulate exactly what it is I'm trying to do.
So when did you? Because I think two of the things that are interesting, and I'm not sure which one we can start on, but I guess just the music, because it's interesting because the way you kind of learn music, you were telling me about like guitar, is that you just kind of think, what is it that I want to do and how do I do that? As opposed to like the way you kind of learn guitar is different than, I mean, I'm sure you have picked up a music book and tried to learn that way, but you also have this other way of playing where you really are kind of unconventional with the way.
Well, I guess I kind of understand what you're trying to ask me, but
Yeah.
well, how I
he
learned
could have
guitar.
fucking worded that question better.
No, how I learned guitar. Well, first off, when I first started out trying to learn guitar, what I did is I just found like a couple artists who played guitar in songs that I really liked that were, that range from any level of difficulty to learn, and I just try to learn what they were playing. So like Front Bottoms was one where I tried to play all the Front Bottom songs, and that's how I learned how to play power chords and stuff like that. And there was little things here and there where it's like, oh, this song, I want to learn how to play this song. So now because I learned how to play this song, now I know how to palm mute. It's like I learned a technique here and there and pick that up. Basically what I was trying to do is just diversify my sort of my library of techniques,
Like
and
like a toolkit almost.
yeah,
of
kind
different
of like that.
things.
So now when I write music now, it's like I just have them all cataloged kind of in the back of my head to where when I'm just messing around or trying to find something, I know exactly which things to sort of pull out right then and there. So that's sort of how I learned guitar.
Right. And so that leads kind of into where you do the audio stuff for us. Like, how did you? Because like I basically like I said, I came back from college and you basically had your own little kind of shitty but DIY studio that you had kind of come together yourself. Like, how did you even know to like go about? Were you just watching a bunch of YouTube tutorials or what?
No, not at all. I think what it was is because I must have been 13 or 14 by the time I was probably like 14. And what happened is our mom or one of her coworkers had like some sort of metal band or something, but he had this Tascam, an 8-track Tascam that was like, it was used, so it was like 2008 or something was the year that it came out, and I just bought it used from him. And I didn't know anything about it, but it was like, this thing is
Kind of a
basically,
curiosity.
it was like, this thing's recording, like a portable recorder thing, and I didn't really know exactly what that meant, but I just got the used thing, and I was just like, okay, I literally sat there when I got it, plugged it all in, and I just got the user manual, and I just tried to see how I could actually use it.
Really?
And I just did it that way, and then I just like, okay, well, let me try to write a song real quick, and so I just like, try to play something on guitar and record it, and then just figure out how to use it, which is
And
kind
that's
of
pretty much record. You play the guitar. That's track. You have the 8 tracks to mess around with and record on.
Yeah, I have 8 separate tracks, so I could record 8 separate things on those tracks.
But you
Not
just from
exactly
there
that,
just were like kind of just wanting to do whatever you wanted to do and figure out how to suit your needs. You like didn't ever look up like,
Pretty
what's
much.
the right
Well,
way to record a song? Or
Yeah, no, I didn't ever look up what's the right way to record a song. I think sometimes I would be watching interviews for other musicians, like of bands that I liked, but that was just if they were talking about it. It's like, why not listen to someone else talk about how they do it? But it's not really something I ever I don't know. I've never really tried to restrain myself and be like, I have to write music this exact particular way. Or like, it's not, I never really came up with a process. It sort of just happened naturally. But,
Well, like, what's really interesting because I've got a lot of questions I want to ask you, but what's interesting about that process is I think that's what a lot of the best artists do. And everything, like, no matter what you're studying, if you're studying film, music, art, you kind of get taught a bunch of systems of how to accomplish what you're doing. Here's the right way. Here's, like for writing, it's like, oh, here's the 3-act structure, the 5-act structure, the 1-act structure. And I always say it's kind of like a top down, like they're teaching you a bunch of stuff downward, but not really teaching you how to develop what you want to develop, like from the bottom up. And so a lot of people, like, if they don't have the ability to kind of not think for themselves, but free flow think, where they're just like, okay, yeah, cool, thanks for all the rules and shit, but I already have a vision of what I want, and I just need to know how to create what I want.
yeah.
Like, it breaks a lot of people where they really can't do genius creative kind of things. And I think, like, with what you're talking about, like, grabbing as many tools as you can over time and just, like, compiling them so that then when you have an idea, you want to pursue a musical project, hopefully you already have enough tools in your toolkit to just do it, and you might need to adopt 1 or 2 more. Like Quentin Tarantino kind of does that with film. He just watched a shit ton of film because he was a huge film fan, and he doesn't, as far as I know, have any real, like, formal training. He's just like, oh yeah, I want this kind of a shot that I know, and this film had it, and they must have done it this kind of way, so I want to do something similar there in order to trigger this emotion. And I think, like, some of the best artists do things the way you kind of do it.
Yeah, well, I'm flattered, and stuff, but yeah. Well, the thing is I think to add on to that, I wouldn't really consider that type of thing though a talent. It's more of an experience thing. Because the thing is I've written over 200 songs, and pretty much all of them are absolute garbage, right? It's only recently that I've been starting to like within the last, few sort of projects I've done that where I'm actually starting to get somewhere with it. So the thing is the only reason I learned any techniques or did anything was just by continuously just doing it. So it wasn't necessarily like I just sort of like studied anything or really tried to figure something out as much as like watching a movie or listening to an album. It was more like just trying to do it until I can figure out a way to actually do it right. And then, just keep doing that. And with every new song, it's like every new song you do, there's always new opportunities to try something different too. So especially with techniques, it's really useful, like to play guitar a certain way or a certain rhythm or something like that is definitely interesting. But
I think that's like, there's this kind of idea of like, I've worked at a couple different jobs where someone comes up to me and they teach me something and they're like, this is important that you learn this. Whenever you grab this pan, flip it this particular way, and this is going to do this for you. And I just sit there and I'm like, okay, why? Who the fuck cares if it catches the crumbs or not? Like, I can fucking sweep when I'm done. And they're like, the way that I've learned this and the way that I've done this is the correct way, and so people just teach you that. When in actuality, like, if you have the right kind of person with some common sense, you just let them do the job, and they're suddenly going to figure out the most efficient way they do it themselves after, like, 20 times of repetition and building up muscle memory, and they might come up with, like, a back-ass-words way of doing the job, but it's way more efficient than the way you would have taught them. Like, it's like teaching a kid how to tie a shoe. Like, one of the biggest trials in my life that I've ever had to face growing up was learning how to tie my fucking shoes. And the problem wasn't I couldn't learn how to tie my shoes. It was everybody had a stupid story to tell me and a stupid, like, here's this rhyme pattern. Here's like 3 or 4 different ways to tie your shoe. And it's like, okay, but then like this person gets mad at you. They're like, no, that's not a good enough. That's not a secure knot. Don't just bunny ears it. You got to fucking go around the tree and up the hole. It's like, God damn, dude, I'm just trying to keep my shoes tied. Like, but then I'd see other kids who would just like, they didn't want to talk to anybody. So they just look at their shoelaces and then they'd knot it up in a weird way. But their shoelaces like never came untied, and people are like, what the hell's wrong with that kid? It's like, they're fucking shoelaces, man. They don't need to be all nifty tied. Like, they're just trying to secure their feet.
Right.
And I think there's something about like coming to an artistic project like music like that, where you're just like, all right, what can I do with this? And then you just keep going until all of a sudden you have something. Just a tangent.
No, I see. I definitely see what you're saying. I would agree with it. Yeah, well, I think there's definitely an advantage to music being such a subjective thing. So there definitely is something about it being, because I don't think there's any right way to write a song. I don't think there's any correct way to do it. It all depends on the person. So for me, it was just finding my own groove and how it worked for me. And that was really what I always tried to do. So
yeah, I think that's the important thing. That is an important thing with all forms of art in any kind of way is trying to maintain what you want to do in your uniqueness and not. I mean, it's one of those things I have a hard time with. I think about a lot where it's like, okay, what if the thing you make, if you made it your way, a lot of people wouldn't like it. It's like, then does that mean you're doing something wrong, or do you need to change that to suit so everyone likes it, you know? Which kind of sucks because like I like in film, it's like I like a lot of certain horror films and stuff that I like it because it's this way, but because it's this way is also the reason why it's going to get 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. And there's a weird thing there, like Catch, where it's trying to find the balance between uniqueness and also being. I mean, how do you balance that? Do you just go, this is what I want to do, and I want it to be exactly this way and be pure unique? Or do you think about it like, well, maybe I should kind of follow a little bit of like, this is kind of how, musically, this is technically better to do it this way.
I don't know.
I know it's kind of a hard question, but
it never really crosses my mind, honestly, because the thing about music for me is I write music purely for myself. Like it's purely just a sort of a venting self-expression thing. It's purely just to sort of reevaluate my sense of self is the only reason I really write any songs whatsoever. So the idea that other people wouldn't like it it's not really something I really care about because it has no relevant meaning to what I'm doing. So
yeah. Do you think, this is a little bit off more of a musical question, but just you always have good insights about music. Do you think that's why with bands, they always end up, most of the time they have something where it's like, here's their first album or maybe their first breakout album, and it's unique in a certain way, so everyone's like, yeah, what's this new band? Like they're just doing things different. And then after a couple albums, it always seems like they always go a little more like pop, or they start getting into a different thing. They kind of lose the uniqueness. Do you think that's because at first they're making it for themselves, but then once you get enough exposure, like once there's enough people with their eyes on you, and now you feel like you're making the music for the people, they like change their...
Yeah, I think that's definitely played a role in a lot of bands, but there's a lot of different things that could happen, after sort of debut. It's like when you do another album after you've gained traction as a band, there's a lot of things that I think could go wrong, mainly especially if you get really popular and then you get onto a big label. A lot can change with just a label depending on the type of label you're in. So that could be a lot of problems with that. I don't know, there's a lot of little things that could change. But sometimes I think there is a little bit of things, like there is a little bit where, the band itself might just want to try to change it up. It just like they're just going into a different style that they want to go into. Yeah. But it just seems like it's, like, oh, why did they change so
they're
much?
selling out.
Yeah, it's like, but I don't know. The thing is it kind of all depends on the band and the situation and the context. And it's not something really, as an audience that you could really figure out that well. So, but I don't know.
So, if we could, let's zoom out a little bit here. So music's a big part of your life, and like that seems to be something you're pretty passionate about for your future. Let's talk about like how you got where you are now a little bit, because you've had kind of an interesting life and an interesting like educational background and being self-taught and all that. Like, how would you say like your upbringing may have like differed from the norm, or things that stood out in your life that really helped you go in the direction you wanted to for life?
Well, I guess just in general, the two things that I think did play a pretty important role in how I sort of developed or matured is that I only had a single parent, a single mother. So that is something that definitely played a role in just being a kid and trying to grow up that way. But also being in a big family with 4 other kids and then 2 older brothers, it's like having, and I'm the youngest out of all of them. So being around people who are just constantly always older than me has always been pretty interesting, because I think it definitely helped me to sort of try to grow up a lot more quickly, which I mean has its faults and too, but I think those are just sort of I guess generally speaking, those are two sort of impactful things, I guess.
Well, with that, like it's interesting because me and Matt always kind of brag about you about how like intelligent and mature you are for your age and everything. For you, has there been any drawbacks to that? Like, do you feel like you skipped over any parts of your life that you're like, I could have had more fun as a kid? Or
yeah, of course. Like the problem is I don't know. Well, the problem is I guess constantly hanging out with people who are older than me, are just spending time and just sort of growing up a lot quicker. And then the sort of life experiences I've had, I think I definitely grew up a lot faster than other kids my age. So there is a lot of drawbacks of just trying to connect with kids my age, which is, I've gotten a lot better at that as I get older. But the thing is I think definitely is I have an apathy problem with I don't want to say kids, because I'm just going to come off more condescending the more I talk about it. But yeah, with
Younger people
my age, it really is. I have an apathy thing where it's like, it's hard. Like you don't notice it, but whenever we have conversations about anything, it's a lot different than if 2 17-year-old kids are talking or 18-year-old kids are talking. There's a really big difference. And it's something that I notice because I can have both those conversations. But what's really frustrating is when when it's like when I'm in a situation where I either have all of one type of conversation like that, where I can either only be, an adult and have regular adult conversations, or I can be a kid and talk about the dumbest shit possible and not be any sort of productive train of thought whatsoever. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to find the right people that, think like me in the type of way that they are willing to be more open, to have more intricate conversations, I suppose.
That's interesting, because like I probably, like that's definitely less of a problem for me being older, but at the same time it's like that is something where as I'm meeting new people or thrown into a new, like a workplace or a school or whatever, there's always for me a little bit of anxiety of like, I know what people my age are like, and I know how few of them are taking life seriously or anything seriously. And it's not like I'm like fuck these guys, they're not on my level. It's just like sometimes there's a little bit of like, God, it's gonna, like, I've got to go in this new environment, and hopefully I'll find at least one person who's living a more complex life. It doesn't have to relate to the way I live, but just so we can have complex conversation and like get to know each other on that more adult and interesting level. And I've noticed more and more, like when I meet people like that, I really try and firm up those friendships, where even when we like move apart or whatever, because I need that. Like, if I'm just drifting through life with a bunch of people my age who are just kind of ungrounded and unfocused and just kind of having fun, it really starts to drag on me after a while. Like, I have to push myself to have more fun. Like, you can probably relate to this a lot. Like, push myself to just go out and screw around. But at the same time, it's like, if I just do that, like, it wears me out.
Yeah, there's a lot of that for me. I think I relate to that a lot, too, is a lot of, as I've been getting older, a lot of what I try to think about just socially with other kids my age is I just try to have the mentality of being open to it, at least, because for instance, like a group of people are, wanting to hang out, and, they'll just, it's like what it is when 17-year-olds hang out. It's like it's just boring. It's nothing. It's it's what it's whatever it is. But my whole point is that I've been trying to have the open-mindedness to just be like, well, this is probably good for me in some ways, so I should at least try. And for the most part, I will at least try to like hang out or engage socially. But sometimes I just, it's like I'll be hanging out and I'll just look around and be like, why am I here? What am I doing here? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't know, because I'm in a weird spot where I try to not be condescending or pretentious about it or be too judgy. Mm-hmm. But the thing is also I know that if I buy into a lot of the ways that other 17-year-old kids are thinking, I'll just get stuck in a trap or a rut where I won't be doing anything productive and I'll be wasting a lot of my time. And, there's other stuff that I could be doing or thinking about or talking about, which I think is overall better for me if I don't, So it's like, I've been trying to navigate a weird balance between that, where it's like I try not to give up on all my youth completely.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
It's always so much fun talking to you, because like it's weird to like have a 17-year-old kid who's sitting there talking about these things that I'm just figuring out as like a 24-year-old. Like I have the
He's
same
18
thing
now.
Oh, 18. Dog, damn. But like I'm figuring out the same thing where I'm like, I want to grow up. I want to go like have a real life, a real career, like meet real people, do real things. Not like these hoses fake or anything like that. Just like I want to grow up and live an adult life, but then I keep having to remind myself at the same time, while I'm pursuing that, I'm not going to be 20 forever, and you probably should be a little out there and having fun and like doing stuff. And so I kind of, same thing, like I have to push myself out there sometimes, like accept invitations I don't really want to.
Yeah.
Like it's like, hey, you guys want to go just hang out at the bar? And it's like, I really don't have a lot of fun just going out and hanging out at a bar, but there's probably some benefit to it. And so I'm just gonna, because like then how do you really get to know your coworkers and stuff if you're always like, nah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna read a 600-page book on metaphysics. It's like, okay, cool, maybe I'm building up my understanding and my comprehension a lot, but what am I doing? Like I can't relate to other people.
Yeah, the thing is it's hard to. For me, it's been hard trying to figure out exactly what the benefit is, because it's hard to justify trying to go out and waste time, is how I always look at it. Because you feel like you're wasting time sometimes with stuff like that. But I think the only benefits I can sort of point to is that it doesn't matter how much time I spend thinking about things or thinking things through on my own. When you talk to people, actual individuals who have to deal with their own lives, everything changes, because what is not all of it makes any sense, like is actually relative, or not all of it is applicable in any of those people's lives. So it's like all my beliefs could be totally challenged and then broken apart in just a normal everyday conversation with anybody.
Or even if someone's not challenging them, I have a lot of times where someone will just have a certain perspective that I didn't think about before.
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's a lot of benefit to the benefit is the social aspect of it. Like it's not the activities or whatever you're doing. It's like I do think hanging out with your age group is a good way. I mean, it's like I've been playing Sims 4 a lot, so it's on my mind. But there's a social meter in the Sims games, and you can sit home and try to make your sim be like level 10 cooking, make gourmet meals and stuff. But eventually, your social meter goes down. Your guy starts getting panicky. Like I think it's healthy to go out and engage with other people your age. So like I actually think there's probably a mental health issue if you don't. If you always stay locked inside.
Definitely. For me personally, the one thing is it helps me not get bitter or resentful, especially towards people my age or just people in general, because it's with. The less you actually spend time meeting new people or talking to people or engaging with people or learning how they think about things, the easier it is to sort of build a sort of a straw man, I guess, of what you think other people are thinking. Yeah. So it's like and it's so easy if you're being like, if you're harboring some sort of hatred or resentment about what someone
people my
thinks
age
about
are so
something.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's like that. Then I put a little bit more straw on that thing, and it's like every single time I don't engage, it's like my perspective is just becoming so narrowed in that it's like it's so easy to convince yourself that people are a certain way, I think is what I'm trying to say.
And I think to an extent, like for some reason you deep down you want to convince yourself they're not worth engaging with. Like your brain's
Yeah.
like trying to build that argument so you can disengage. Yeah. That it is a tough thing though, because like I have those moments. Like I did 2 specific events this weekend that I was like, kind of like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to push myself in both these situations. And in both of them, there were moments where I was having fun, but there was also a lot of moments where I was just sitting watching it, very normal, but to me, insane events occurring before my eyes. And I'm like, why did I bring myself out here to like be a part of this? But at the same time, I was sitting there, I was like, well, I guess it's not affecting me. And there's nothing wrong with just sitting here and being a passive observer during these parts I don't like.
Well, yeah, I mean, you also have to be careful of that. There's actually, you don't want to like always take every possible opportunity because it might be a good or this is probably good for me, and then you're in like because there are bad situations. There are some people you don't want to hang out around. They're not beneficial to be around,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
there's actually it's just a tough balance. It's hard to like dive in or draw back and knowing when the right time to do it is.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the whole thing that all 3 of us are kind of figuring out in different ways right now, is like there's some kind of balance to life that's real tricky and you never really have it. Like you're kind of sprinting and trying to balance at the same time and not fall off.
Yeah.
Either
But
side.
I guess it's hard to find a balance with engaging with the world because the world is sort of unpredictable. So you constantly are having to figure that out. It's not like, I figured it out and it's perfect now. It's like, well, the people are going to change. The world around you is going to change. So it's a constant thing of figuring out, where you're at and what you're doing and who you're engaging with.
Yeah. Also, the more you change, it's like you can change as well and completely change your perspective on everything too. So it definitely is a lot more complex than just
Well, speaking of that, if I can just put you in a little bit of a pressure point for a second, it's really interesting to me because I'd say it might be 2 years now, but a little over a year ago when you kind of first moved down here with Matt and we were kind of chit-chatting and stuff and talking, from my perspective, it seemed like you were having a lot rougher time then. But then the last like several months I've been hanging out with you, there seems to be some kind of shift in your life where life's more open to you. Like you're a little more relaxed and enjoying stuff.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've definitely had a lot of weird ups and downs like through my life, which is weird because I feel like an old man all the time because it's like and I even say it's like I have all these life experiences and I'm like, what are you talking about? You're just, but it's like I don't know, which is kind of weird, but I think at that time I definitely was having a lot more trouble because I've always had mental health issues, like pretty much I think since I was like 8 or something is when I started to realize what I think I was sort of behaving the sort of weird ways that you would if you had mental health issues when I was 8. But I think I didn't really acknowledge them till I was like 15 or 16. And then I went through a lot of that, a lot of dealing with that. And then by the time I came up here with Matt, it was like, I don't know, it's sort of weird because just within the last like 3 years, I felt like I've been 2 different people every year. Like every single year, I feel like a completely different person by the beginning and by the end. So it's like it's been a really weird thing because I think I really feel like I've changed a lot on a lot of different things, but I think it's mostly just dealing with mental health and trying to figure out a way to sort of push past that, and then trying to figure out exactly what that means for the rest of my life, and then trying to figure out exactly how to accept it but also maintain it. And it's like it's just a weird thing where a lot, and it's not just the mental health, it's just my perspective on things too. And I think the main thing is that I just had a really bad problem where I would just harbor resentment and hatred, and it's just like I just caught myself in a thing where I just became so bitter about everything. And I think just within the last couple years or year or so, it's like it just feels like I've been slowly trying to learn exactly how to sort of let a lot of things go, and then just try to find a little more peace, I guess. But,
Damn, man, like you've been on a journey in life, like a pretty serious journey in a very short amount of time. Like, it's really interesting. It does seem though like you're more actively engaging with your life now, though. Like, you seem to be like aiming at specific things.
Yeah, I think most of that just I think a lot of that has to do with, because I would say by the time I came down to McPherson for like I guess whenever we moved into that house, probably is where Mark was sort of post, where I sort of was able to, take like really falling into the furthest deep end you could possibly fall into with mental health, like legit, like I don't want to say legit. I don't know why I said that, but just suicidal, just completely depressed, completely apathetic, and everything you could think of. And the thing is I was able to sort of just pull myself out of that, however I did it, and then moving down here was sort of just post that, and then trying to figure out, it's like, okay, so now I'm out of this. How do I, it's like what did I miss? How do I get back? How do I play catch up? How do I do any of this stuff? So for me, it was just a lot of like, to be able to do a lot of those things, I had to sort of isolate myself in a lot of different ways. And I had to cut off a lot of different parts of my life to even be able to think clearly about what I was doing or what I wasn't doing. And then now I'm slowly able to take a little bit more here and there, just pull a little bit back for myself. And it's like, because I think I definitely lost a lot of different aspects or different potential I had. And I think that now I've just been trying to figure out how to get all that back, which is a weird way of explaining it. But
yeah, well, it's actually really interesting because, like, mental health issues and all that and depression, like, it fucking sucks. Like, all three of us have dealt with that. But I think there's this weird, it's really unfortunate positive thing within mental health problems that you like, I don't really like talking about because nothing about mental health problems is fun. But there's something where it's like, if you do go all the way to the very bottom of that pit, like if you go all the way to hell with it, where like it can't get any worse, there is like a huge potential for kind of pushing through it and coming out on the other side and suddenly like pulling life back in. The way I always like it happened for me very recently, like within the span of basically the moment I was like, okay, I'm through the hell part of my life mentally, the part that like is awful and is horrible. Like I realized I was in it and I was suffering like really bad, and I started making a couple decisions were made for me that I really didn't like, that made my life like kind of isolate for a little bit. And then I was like, okay, I either start confronting these things and get some of it handled, or this is the rest of my life. The rest of my life is in this hellscape. And once I started tackling it, it's really weird. It's like the Divine Comedy. It's like at some point you wake up in life and then you like go on this journey through hell. But if you like make it through, all of a sudden when you punch out the other side, you're back in like normal life, which is like purgatory. But it's just the most relieving thing. Like you feel like you like hit some huge positive high just being back at like where the world doesn't feel awful again. I don't know. I didn't plan what I was saying out before I started saying it. But there's this weird thing with mental health where like if you conquer it, if you can get through it, you're always going to carry it with you. Like it's a monkey on your back or whatever. But you get to the point where you're like, oh shit, like I can handle this and life can still be something really good.
Yeah. And
I think there's something really positive about that. It's a really horrible positive thing that sucks, but it's really great.
I also think it's important. The monkey on your back thing is actually important because there is you hit to the bottom of the pit and you break out of it, but you also have to keep in mind like, okay, I can still fall back into the pit. Like it's not like, oh, it's over, it's done. And I think because you want to be prepared for that too. You don't. I think that's because that's my flaw a lot of times is I'm like, oh, okay, like I think everything's good now, and then it's like, and then I'm unprepared for dealing with it again and not remembering how I dealt with it before, and like it's almost like like alcoholism where you know, you're kind of always an alcoholic, even though you made it through the 12 steps and you're not drinking anymore. It's like you still have to be aware that you could relapse and go back, and like you have to know the right things to do when that happens. You know, you talk to your sponsor and all that stuff. I knew just enough knowledge there that made it sound like I may have been an alcoholic in the past, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I can contribute to
well,
that
I would say
conversation. I think.
that takes me back to the conversation about music, though, because for me, writing my own music has definitely been because it's such a great way to sort of express, you know, whatever you're thinking or whatever you didn't realize you were thinking about. It's been a way for me to sort of access that part of myself. Even when I was going through that stuff, I could still write music, and it's like that part of myself that, you know, like sort of understood exactly what was happening or what needed to happen to change. And it's like a lot of that was sort of realizing ideas that I didn't, or sort of realizing, I guess it's being able to put into words exactly, you know, how I actually feel about, you know, what was happening or what is happening now. And being able to sort of rediscover a lot of those feelings or ideas, and then being able to put them in a concrete way where it's like forever, you know, I could always go back to a song that I wrote when I was that low and then look exactly, it's like, this is exactly what I was thinking. This was the exact mindset I was in. And it's like being able to go back to those sort of pockets of ways of thinking is extremely useful for me.
Yeah, I do that a bit with writing, where a lot of times it helps me if I can create some story that channels those same emotions into that specific narrative. It's like locking that idea into a solid form that I can look back on and reflect. Like, okay, like this was a real thing. Because I think probably that's part of the reason you fall back into pits is when you can't. You got out, but you didn't like write out what you like, not what you did to get out, but you kind of write out like this was a real thing that actually happened. Don't forget.
Yeah.
And then it's like if you can carry that with you forever, then you're like when you step into the next pit, there is a little bit of like, for me, I don't know. This might be different from you guys' experience. If I do have it solidified by that time, like I understood the concept and like made it a story I can tell back to myself, then if I stumble back into that pit again, usually I can kind of sit there and be like, this is going to fucking suck, but it's conquerable now. Like these emotions aren't new to me. Like I've done this before, and I just got to get through it and remember that this is not the first time.
Yeah.
But okay, so we got into some heavy shit.
Well, that's a conversation with Eric, though. That's
every time.
Well, I was saying, because you said something similar, but it made me think of it, is a conversation with Eric. The reason why he's fun to talk to is, and I've realized this since that age, like almost, maybe not since then, but the whole girlfriend thing, it's like, I think he is able to articulate. We're probably all pretty similar in a certain sense, the way we think or about other people, and kind of we're up in our heads a lot. I think Eric's just been better at an earlier age at articulating what that's like. So when he articulates being an 18-year-old or 17-year-old, 16-year-old, I couldn't articulate it at the time. So it's interesting to hear, like, and then understand. I'm like, and it makes me understand myself better.
Yeah.
So
no, really, like it's really weird. I've learned a lot of things from Eric.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Like it's things that I had experienced, but like the whole. That's why that whole moment stood out, like this forgettable moment for you where you just explained why you weren't having a girlfriend.
Yeah.
It was like it resonated because I understood exactly what you meant, and I had a little bit of like, man, I was stupid when I was in my first couple relationships. Why did I even think I could have a real relationship at that age?
Because we were probably like 17 at the time, but even then it kind of made me think like, okay, he's 12, but like I'm it's like, are we even that far off from him? Like, should we even be doing this?
It's
like, do we
is
know
high
what's
school
up?
dating even real dating?
Yeah.
Like at a point you start to go, what's a real relationship? And is that, if that's really what I want, why am I crucifying around?
Yeah.
But it is that. That's a good point. It is that he's very articulate about like his thoughts and his ideas.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, getting into some of the more interesting, hopeful, like, who is Eric? What's going on? Like, what would you say, like, some of your hopes for life are now? Like, I've listened to a lot of your music. I think you're incredibly talented. I can tell that you're growing in leaps and bounds as you're studying like audio engineering and stuff. If there's like a direction you want your life to go with all of these things you're doing, like where for you is like, oh, that's what I want to do.
You're talking in like specific things or skills or or in general.
In general would be fine. Like, or if there's like, oh man, the whole reason I'm into music is I've got this idea that one day I want to do X, Y.
I don't know. Well, the thing is I definitely have plans for the future of doing more projects or always doing stuff. But as far as music goes, it's like I don't really consider myself like an artist really or anything. It's like I said, it's purely for myself. So I don't imagine a world where I'm not writing music regardless if if it actually has any benefit, benefit like financially or just in my success, I guess. But but yeah, no, I have plenty of plans. I think mostly I think I'm just going to try to take an approach of just making I don't know, I guess what I want to try to do with a lot of my audio stuff just in a very large scale is I just want to try to be able to have enough resources or groundwork that I could just sort of be able to do whatever projects I wanted to do, or be in a situation where I could prop up, someone that I thought was really talented or had a really good idea. And it's like just being able to do something. And I'm not exactly sure what that would be yet, whether I would just start a recording studio or something or just something like that. But as far as like trying to completely learn how to, do audio engineering, like going to like audio engineering school or interning for another audio engineer, something like that. I'm interested in those ideas, and I think I don't really have a problem with them. But as far as trying to get into the game of like a Hollywood type of thing or big corporate music type of stuff, doesn't interest me. I think that if I were to do anything with those types of skills, I would just have to make my own thing. That's the only way I could do it. I think I know myself enough to know that I wouldn't find any sort of enjoyment, even if I was successful in an environment like that. I think I would have to find a way to, I guess I just would have to make my own thing, which might be a character fault in myself of just being too stubborn that I have to be so unique that I have to make my own business or something. But
well, I think maybe like I always think about that because I've told you like my long-term goals of basically film won't be satisfying until I have my own production company so I can make my own projects and I have to worry about someone else dicking around with the film I have. Because when I craft a film, it's not like, ooh, I want this one thing. It's like, no, the film's already there. It's in my head. I just want to get it out there. I think like it could be a character flaw in that like you have to develop an ability to like cooperate with people and collaborate and that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's a character flaw. I think that's how when I always like I try to step back and it's like these companies got there because there was one or two people who just wanted to do what they wanted to do and built a company out of it. And then there's just this wave afterwards of people who just want success, who are just pursuing success, and that's how these things stay afloat for decades.
Well, that's sort of my opinions on it, because when I sort of looked at the opportunities that the sort of field I'm trying to enter, provides, it's like a lot of these really, big cities with big media companies, and they have all these productions, and it's like there's more opportunities there to succeed as far as actually making money and having an actual job and like always having something to be making money off of. As far as that, they're all densely into one part of a state or part like sides of the country. It's like, but for me, I'm not interested in being the guy who tries to go down to LA to make it big in LA. It's like when I think about it, it's like, well, how did that city become that type of place? It's like, how is that the environment? How does that start? And that's exactly, it just starts with one person like me who just wants it to be like that and just makes an opportunity for people to succeed in, however little, even if it's just a little. It's like just making something like a recording studio in my, hometown, and then maybe making some sort of, just some sort of platform where people can perform. It's like, that's an idea where, just being able to create that environment is what I want to try to at least, just have some sort of involvement or just attribute something to that idea.
That's the same philosophy I have, where it's like, damn dog, at some point we gotta turn off the mics before we let out all our secrets of how we plan on doing this.
I could see Eric having his own, like, his own recording studio. Well, you always talk about music, like you really particularly look for very unique music, so you're like scouring through hundreds of band camps and stuff. Yeah, I could.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah, but what I mean is that's the kind of thing that someone who's going to be like maybe a producer, or you have your own record label type thing, you kind of need to have that you can find that kind of niche and like,
And then you're like, all right, I got to get a hold of these guys. Let's pull them in.
Yeah,
we're gonna get these songs on like a good recording, and then I'm just gonna put them out there. Like I'm gonna force that content into a bigger field.
Well, that's why I think when I thought about it more, just like as the actual logistics of the thing, I don't think, because if I were to record or have my own recording studio, I wouldn't want to just have to be what a lot of these other recording studios do, where they just try to record anybody they can, just to, just either to get experience or just to do whatever, which there's not a problem with that. That's pretty much what the entire field is. But for me, the only reason that I have an interest in it is for that exact thing of being able to find someone that I think is talented but doesn't have the resources or utilities to do what I know they have the potential to be able to create or something, and I want to be able to just have that resource or opportunity. So I think most of the financial aspect would have to come from something else, just at least to keep it stable. But I don't know. It's something I'm working on figuring out.
Well, I mean, that's a great dream to have when you're 18, that it's not like a pie in the sky. Like, I mean, it's a long shot dream of like, it's a big dream, but it's not like, I'm just gonna go out there. I'm just gonna land a big gig. Like, I'm just gonna get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what are you talking about?
No, I expect to be homeless by the next day.
Well, and then the other part where I'm like, fuck you, Eric. Like, why do you got to be smarter than us? Is you've also kind of bypassed like this huge financial burden of like just listening to what people say and going to college that I kind of fell into, where it's like, now I have this opportunity to go and study film the way I've always wanted to, but it's going to tack on a huge amount of debt.
Yeah.
And for me, it's my best option ever. So I have to take that gamble. But that carries along with it, I can't just get good at what I want to get good at and create. There is a level of like, I have to have a certain level of success just to reset the scales,
right,
so that I can kind of be the free form, like, I'm just going to go out there and make what I want. And you've been really smart in not just letting people push you in whatever direction and skipping all that.
I wouldn't say that I've been really smart. I think it's just that I'm really stubborn. so it's mostly that I don't know. It's definitely a problem where I have, where it's like, I don't like it when people tell me how things work without ever giving me an actual explanation.
That's why
really
I get so many fights with my professors.
It really bugs the hell out of me. Well, the thing is there is that fault where it's like, a lot of problems I can run into is then quickly judging every person too, and thinking they don't have something, that's actually worth saying. And so there is that, but also, I think for me, just in regards to something, it's like, I like all sorts of types of ideas, and I like figuring out exactly, what's interesting about them or exactly how useful they are. So something like student loans for me, it mostly just came from a complete stubborn perspective of being like, I don't like the idea of taking money from somebody else. Even if it is like something that everyone can take, but it's like, there's something about it. And I'm like, well, why is it this bugs me so much? And then I try to figure out, it's like, is it justified that I feel this way? And then which I mean can be a tricky, way of thinking in itself, but it's definitely been useful in some regards where I've been able to sort of avoid the whole student loan thing because, well, mainly just seeing people end up not being able to actually work in the profession they went to school first in the first place just because they can't pay off their student loans. And it's like that's just something that's just, if you talk to anybody who has student loans, that's, you know, they're working jobs that they never planned on working because that's the only way they could pay off their loans. And it's like, so I think, I don't think there's anything really wrong with student loans for the most part. It's like, especially if you're getting into a field that pays back, you know, the taxpayers even more, like a, you know, like a medicine field or a science field or any, you know, any sort of STEM thing pays back the society in, you know, tenfold. So I don't know. So I definitely have a lot of different thoughts about that, but
Yeah.
This guy's just dropping wisdom nuggets.
I know,
dude.
like we just need to have like if we ever did like Patreon episodes where it's like, oh, you support us on Patreon, you get this bonus content. It's just gonna be like the Eric show
Yeah.
where we just give him a mic and we're like, all right, what do you want to talk about this
Today
week?
on West of Eden.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah. How long have we been going? Like, I think over an hour,
We
right?
went a little while.
way too blind to see that.
I know I couldn't.
Over an hour.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
do we want to wrap up a little bit?
Yeah, we can start to
We
start
might
to.
need to do another Eric episode. There's just so much there.
I definitely have a lot more to talk about too.
Well, we plan on having you as our guest for next week's episode. I guess we'll just go ahead and tease it a little bit.
Yeah, we're
Listening to Matt talk about pyramid schemes and how like how much he gets it, but also like how it kind of boils his blood a little bit
Yeah.
while he's talking. I was like,
Yeah, we will be doing
go ahead and do
pyramid
this.
schemes next week.
and we want you to be the guest.
Yeah, we'll have. Well, we were like, who would be? We might as well because I feel like you know. Well, I mean, look at what you've said tonight. It's like you'll have some kind of something good to add to it. But yeah, we were talking about like I think it all came about because there's like a newer pyramid scheme I've seen around the area that's been on
Yeah.
Facebook a lot. And yeah, I'm a little nervous about that episode. I think I told you because I feel like it could get more hate than other episodes. Because mostly we're talking pretty vague and pretty like, well, this is what I think about it. It'll be very hard for me to not just drill into what we're talking about next week. So
I mean, we get a lot of downloads, but we really only have 3 regular listeners who like
That we know of.
communicate with us
Yeah.
and tell us if they're pissed off. Which, by the way, just so you won't harass me later on Facebook, we're considering the Minion Memes episode. Okay, we're gonna do a poll. There's one
We have
belligerent
requests for that?
asshole who's just. Every time, no
Oh, we
matter
gotta
what we
talk about
put
Minion
out,
memes.
he's like, "How come you
Yeah.
haven't done an episode on Minion memes?"
yeah.
Great guy, by the way.
Also, we will probably have Eric on for the dreams episode.
Oh yeah,
I can't
'cause
talk to this guy about
this boy's
dreams
got
without
some
having a
weird
good
dreams.
discussion.
I
man.
will, yeah.
Okay,
He's like,
well-
I'll save it.
Well, I thought about bringing that up, but I was like, that's a total
That's
rabbit
a
hole. I
whole-
should even bring that up.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we go ahead and do the wrap up, like, while you've got a mic, is there anything else that you want to say? Anything that's been on your mind where you're like, you know, if I could just tell the people of the world one thing, I would just tell them, wash your penis.
Get that booty.
Well, I guess the only sort of, I guess the main thing I sort of taken from all my experiences or just all my time spent thinking is just the idea that is just really just take the time to sort of get to know yourself. Sort of that's sort of the wisdom I've been sort of learning recently is just I had to just all that I went through. I just basically had to destroy my entire perception of self and then sort of build myself back up piece by piece. And sort of, you know, it's like when I really think about it now, it's like I still really have no idea what I like or what I don't like or what I think about anything really. So it's like, I think really that's the only message I really have for people.
This guy's 18 years old.
He's 18 years old. Well, Eric, thank you so much for helping us make our best episode yet. I can't wait to listen to this one.
Yeah.
Matt, should we go ahead and wrap up the show? Do you have Do you have Matt bitches about something at the end of the episode?
Oh, I did have one, and now I can't remember what it was.
I'll do
Dang it. You
my
do
little
yours and
section.
I'll try to remember.
Well, I'm still reading the same book, which is just an absolute banger of a book. Watched a couple movies I haven't seen before, Raging Bull, but I was talking through it, so I didn't get the ending. But one thing, so like we talk about Peterson and a lot of different people who've influenced us on the show, and I've read a lot of books that really influenced me. But kind of a cool, different thing. I don't want to. There's sometimes you like get into an area of life that you've been like, oh, look at those assholes for so long that once you get why it's actually beneficial for you and you start doing it, you're like, I don't want to be one of those people. But then you're like, actually, I was the asshole for calling them assholes. But anyways, I've been getting into like fitness, like physical fitness and maintaining like a healthy lifestyle. Not to like an extreme degree, but just like, okay, if I pace out when I eat, so I constantly have energy throughout the day, can I get more done? If I watch what I eat, can I avoid slumps? Like those kinds of things. And then just working out once a day. And Chris Hemsworth launched an app. I guess you can only get it on iPhone, but it's called Center. And it's just, I don't know much about fitness, so maybe it's not comparable. Like there's better things out there, but I got a hold of it. I decided to give it a trial run, and it basically helps you get your diet in order, helps you get a workout plan in order, and then like a little bit of like meditation and like things to read to inform you about like why you're doing what you're doing and how it's helping your body, and like more steps that you can take to improve your life. And usually I'd be like, if someone tried to give that to me, I'd be like, hippy dippy bullshit, get it away from me. I used it for 1 week, like one full week this week, and like changed my diet and stuff. And it's just had like massive benefit for helping me like maintain my work schedule and stuff. And like I would highly recommend it to anybody who's just who feels like they're lethargic, or like they hear a lot of good advice about diets and stuff, but they don't know what to do. It's a great place to start.
What was it called? What was the app called? Okay.
It's called Center, CENTR. I think it's comparable to the price of like a gym membership, like a monthly gym membership, but you don't have to go to the gym if you're using it and you have like 2 weights.
I think it's actually okay, but
I'm just nervous.
yeah.
I don't want to lose such a good
Oh,
episode.
there's a weird grid on there now, but anyway.
Oops. Anyways, so yeah, that's been really great. It's actually to the point where, I mean, we talked about it with Zane last week a little bit. Once you start like getting your life in order, like your weekdays in order, you start going like, I need to stop crashing out on the weekends and just like shitting my life away for 2 days and then restarting.
It's the whole trash brain thing he said, I thought was like the best way you could phrase this. Like if you have trash brain, it's like you're not even thinking about. You know.
Well, and then, okay, I'm really dumb. I've been thinking a lot about everything relates to everything, which again is a hippy-dippy bullshit thing. But there's this concept of as above, so below, and it's like old alchemical thing. But I was thinking about like what all could you apply this to, and does it actually hold up in weird situations? And one of the dumbest ones that like I was thinking about at work, I was like, well, if you're not taking care of what you're putting into your stomach, then your brain goes to shit. And I was like, God damn it. Like it works there. It's kind of that whole clean up your room thing. It's like if you want your mind to work and function and be usable, then you got to take care of everything that's below it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the stupidest fucking obvious thing like ever. But you never, unless someone tells you that, you don't directly just relate like, man, why do I feel like shit? Why am I depressed? Like, why am I upset? And there's not anything going on in my life.
Yeah.
Like today I was kind of depressed and stuff, and I was like, shit, was it because I saw this person at the coffee shop? Was it because this thing that happened last night? And I was like, no, none of that affects me. Oh yeah, I didn't eat when I woke up this morning. I went out, ate a bunch of shit, and then haven't slept. That's why my mind won't turn on.
Right. I have to constantly remind myself of that because like the two easy things you can do if you're depressed is figure out what's going on with your diet and what's going on with your sleep schedule. And I always have to remind myself of that because I get into these bits, which I do have like a lot of depression stuff, but I'll be like, maybe it's time I just need to get on the medication because it keeps happening. And then I always have to remind myself like, okay, well, wait a minute. I've also been staying up till 4 a.m. And sleeping in late and eating shitty. So it is true like that stuff can really affect you in that way.
And for that particular app, I think that's why I mean I got it because Chris Hemsworth is a god, and if I want to like replicate my life after somebody, I want to try and look like Chris Hemsworth. But it was cool that like even dumb stuff. It has like sleep meditation stuff, like a 5-minute someone talking to you before you go to bed, and I'm like that's
ASMR.
the fucking ASMR.
Thor
but
ASMR.
It's these like, oh, imagine yourself in this place thinking about this and relax a little bit. And it really does. I was like, because I have a hard time going to sleep after work, because as soon as I like close my eyes and try to power down, my brain is like, oh shit, about 5 more minutes. I need to close that box up. Then I need to go grab those parts. Oh shit, is my boss coming over? I'm like, I'm not fucking at work. What am I? And it's just this very like, there's no kind of spirituality mumbo jumbo. They're just like, you have to get like your mind in order if you want to enjoy your life. So take care of your body, work out, and take care of your brain. It's like, oh shit, that's nice, simple, easy. And I don't feel like a Dumbo when I like tell people, no, try it out. Once you get past the crystals, it's really actually pretty good for you.
Yeah. You is that all?
That's all. Did you
remember? I'll keep it short and sweet. But I just want to say F Microsoft. Now, here's why. Because this has been on my mind for a long time. Talked about it with several people, and it's pretty much anyone else who's had the same issue will commiserate with you. It's like I said, this is a short and sweet one. If you I hope this comes off like these little segments come off comical because they're so minor, but I'm so pissed about them. But
this is starting to become my new favorite segment of the show.
If you subscribe to like Xbox Gold on Xbox Live on the Xbox, you can do it on the Xbox. You can pay through the Xbox and everything. You're good. If you want to unsubscribe from Xbox Gold on Xbox, no bueno. You can't do it. It's like you can subscribe on your Xbox, but you can't, which means you have to go to the Microsoft website to unsubscribe. Oh. Now, you can't tell me that that's not just straight up bullshit, because why would you not be able to unsubscribe from your Xbox
Literally
homepage?
Anything else you subscribe to.
Disclaimer, they may have updated that since the last time I checked, but I always just end up having to go to Microsoft and look at my subscriptions on there. Here's point 2, and this is a real big one. Microsoft, if you subscribe to Xbox Gold and then like, you know, your funds run low or whatever, you don't have money on your card. Because like for me, it's like, oh, I'll pay the bills and do all this, and then it's like, oh, I don't have money for Xbox, whatever, it'll shut off. It doesn't just shut off. It'll actually keep you on Xbox Gold for, this has happened to me before. Like I said, all of this is subject to change by the time you listen to this. But when you subscribe to the Xbox and you don't pay for a month, instead of it just being like, okay, we're cutting your Xbox off and then you'll just pay when you want another month, they keep your Xbox on for a couple months and they'll just send you an email. It's like, oh, problem paying your thing. You're like, oh, okay, well, whatever, whenever I want Xbox Gold again, I'll pay for it. They keep that charge on there, so that then they'll shut it off after 3 months. So then you're like, oh, I guess I'll go ahead and pay the $10 for Xbox Gold. You log on to your Microsoft account, it's like you owe $30 because you have 3 months of fucking Xbox that you didn't know you were paying for because it wasn't taking the money off the card. So now you have to go. So now you have to pay the $30 plus the $10 extra just to get the fucking 30 days of Xbox Gold that you barely fucking play. You're playing fucking, Banjo-Kazooie online mode or something with your friend, once the whole fucking month, and you're paying $10 for it. Now, the step 3 of this whole thing.
Oh, God.
Wait, I might have forgotten 3. What's the problem? We were just talking about it, Aaron.
The problem is they'll do that thing where if you don't have any money on your card and they cancel it, like they don't renew your subscription for something like Game Pass or Xbox Live Gold, I think does it too. If you don't have any money and if they decide to cancel it, they will hold the charge to where you won't get the service. But they will basically lock your account to where you can't cancel it. So if you're like, so it's not like I am mooching off of them and getting free gold service. If
you're still paying for it.
Look, I don't want to pay for this anymore and further. They won't let you do that. You have
because your account's locked.
You can't do that on the console. You can't do that on the website. You have to contact. Like an actual employee, like you have to call them or do
Matt's starting to do the sassy.
You have to call them or contact them on the website. you know, because they have like a help chat thing, which kind of sucks. But
They
but
all.
you have to
there's
do
never
that,
been a good
and
one.
you have to basically tell them, it's like, look, I don't want your service. Like, take my credit card off of there. I don't. It doesn't need to be
Yeah.
on.
You
It's
know
like,
what? I'll end with this, but it reminded me of one more fucking Microsoft thing, okay?
Yeah.
Is I recently was trying to play games with my friends. One of my friends just didn't have a lot of money at the moment, but I want to play Xbox with him. So I was trying to buy him Xbox Game Pass. First fucking problem, if you try to buy Xbox Game Pass on Xbox and gift it to someone, you can buy a month for yourself. But if you try to gift it to someone, it starts at 3 months. Like, I don't know if they're trying to be like, really, a month? You're gonna not give your friend at least 3 months? Fuck you. I get on the Microsoft, the website. You can do it on the Microsoft website, though. You can gift it to someone on the website 1 month. I get on the website to gift it, and I'm trying to log in, and it's like, oh, that password's old or something, and I can't get in. And I'm like, or actually, no, I did get in, but it's like, oh, your security settings. Do you still have this phone number? No, I got a new phone number. Okay, well, just put your new phone number in. We'll send you an update. Cool. I try to buy the 1 month, and it's like, oh, your account's locked right now. You can't do that. I'm like, why? And I look and read the email. That little minor thing, they didn't give me an are you sure message or anything of updating my security settings. For a month, I can't purchase or buy anything on the Microsoft website until that security thing goes through and they send a text to my new phone instead of just clarifying it right then.
Yeah.
So I'm locked out of that account for a month, and I had to go to some sketchy-ass European site to buy a month of Xbox Game Pass to give to my friend. All right. That's
That
enough.
does suck. Like, I was
Microsoft needs to fix their shit.
there's a little bit of that where I was like, fair, but there is also an argument against you, the user, for
My
not
fault.
canceling.
That's true.
But at the same time, it's like that's a super unuser friendly.
They make it
situation.
difficult to
yeah,
to un-
and there's
to
a
do
level
it.
of that that's trapping,
Yeah.
intentional
well,
trapping
the part
you.
that's trapping is the biggest complaint I had is that I couldn't take off any of my debit cards or like anything. It's like you can't take that off of your account until you contact them, or until you pay
Put money on
for
there.
a new service and then cancel it, then take your credit card off while you can. But if you don't have any money, it's like they just claim your card and you have to contact someone to be like, look, take all my shit off of there right now. Or it's like, that's
Take
the
all
only
my
way.
shit
And if
off
they
there right
don't,
now.
what are you supposed to do? If they decide, no, I don't believe you, we're not taking your stuff off of there, then I
Yeah.
have to cancel my card because it's like then as soon as there's money in that account, they're taking it as soon as they can.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, at the, I don't know, there's all sorts of sketchy
They
problems.
Sir-
operate it like they're the fucking IRS. And
Right?
It's like, God
Yeah.
damn, dude. See, that's why Nintendo Online fucking
Here we go.
sucks right now.
Oh,
Just
what?
because, like, it's good for the price and all that, but like, it's just so bare bones compared to what it should be. Like, you can't even do voice chat while you're playing with your buddy online. They want you to get an app on your phone and basically call your friend. It's like, fuck you, man. I'll just
could've
call
just
my
called
friend.
my friend, yeah.
Don't try and act like you're helping me out here. And I think they even have like a special headset you can buy. All that aside, it's like it's the easiest fucking thing to just buy your fucking membership, and they want you to connect it to a My Nintendo account. And it's like, okay, I usually hate the like, oh, you want a YouTube? You've also got to get a Google account, and like
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
bullshit. Because it's always like, I'm helping you out. You just want more Google accounts or more Microsoft accounts. I just care about my fucking Xbox.
Yeah.
But with them, it's like you could just buy your month and like set it up real quick and there's no problem. Having the Nintendo account is a little bit of a benefit, and the minute you're done, you're done. It's like
good.
Spotify
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
There's never
That's
any
what's
problems
weird
with
is
those minor subscription
every
things.
other
And you know
subscription
they
thing,
make
there's
more
not a
money
problem.
than the ones who are trying to trap you, because everyone is just trapped into the convenience. They're like, oh yeah, oh shit, okay, yeah, go ahead and charge me again, Spotify, like,
Yeah.
because you're only charging me for 1 month, even though I was a dick and
Right.
like just like ghosted you for 3 months.
Yeah. Well, sorry for turning that into Matt Pulaski is really petty
This is
about
the best
minor
bit of the
things.
show now. I hope you can get pissed off every week.
Oh, I can.
Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Because you were ranting so long, I actually remembered to pull out our
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for listening. You can check us out on Facebook at Matt and Caleb vs. the World, Spotify, Matt and Caleb vs. the World. That is the easiest place to listen to us. When we upload to Podbean and stuff, it's on Spotify within like 10 minutes of an upload. And then if you want to follow us on Instagram, see wacky shit we do while we're recording and stuff, you can follow us on Instagram at vs. the World Pod. If you want to get in contact with us, you can send us an email at verstheworldpod@gmail.com. And actually, I fucking forgot again because I was out doing stuff all weekend.
Yeah, that.
We got an email from a listener about the Catholicism episode, and it's an excellent well-written argument against a couple of the points that were brought up, and I'm trying to like work my way through it and really get everything and give it the time it deserves, and then at some point we'll discuss it on the show. But just using first names, I guess. Brian, thanks for that, man. That was awesome. And if you guys have any suggestions for topics or questions, or you're like, hey, you guys suck, fucking put Eric on again, just email us there. That's the best way to get a hold of us.
I don't want to forget, Eric, when's does your album come out? Because aren't you almost done?
Yeah, I'm pretty much almost finished with it. It'll probably be out within like the next couple months.
Maybe we could put a track at the end of this or something.
Yeah, can we put a track at the end?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right, cool. And by we, I mean, can you edit one of your tracks into the end of the episode before you send it?
Yeah. And then when it does release, I'll try to bring it up on the show or something.
Yeah, and we'll post about it on all of our social media sites that 12 people follow. Also, YouTube. Our YouTube is now like actually running. YouTube versus the world. We have video versions of the podcast going up soon, and we also are trying to have like one video a month, roughly, of just separate content.
Yeah.
So you can check us out there if you're interested in that. Other than that, thank you everybody for listening, and I think we'll see you next week.
We could go back to my house. I don't wanna feel left out. I don't wanna feel self-content. I don't wanna feel aimless. I don't wanna feel older than I am. I don't wanna feel broken. I don't wanna carry all my stress. I don't wanna feel breathless.
I'm sorry, old buddy, I don't recollect the name. The face is vaguely familiar, but the name escapes me. I'll tell you what my problem is. I'm in the middle of a nightmare I can't wake up from. And you're part of it.